Oh, I broke a helicoil taking one of the spark plugs out. Actually trying to put one of them back in, but either way. So we're having to do a replacement of a helicoil, and I don't exactly have the tooling for that, so I had to source that, and it's on the way. But that might make a good video. We'll do helicoil repairs. We'll go from there. This channel is about working on aircraft and flying those airplanes. So come take a seat and let's go for a flight. So some of the preventative maintenance that needed to be done once we got on the ground here in Washington was needed an oil change, clean and gap all the spark plugs, do a brake job, which included also bleeding the brakes. What else? Oh, we upgraded the gascolator to give a plug out to Steve's Aircraft out in Oregon. He has a replacement STC for Pipers and Stinsons. You can go to his website and look at his AML. Anyway, you can go to Steve's website, click on the links to see if your model qualifies. The 108s do. So we went and purchased that gascolator. I'm not going to film it because it was so straightforward. It was basically just a replacement of the original gascolator, and it works really great because all you have to do is pull a cotter pin, turn the bowl a little bit, and pull it right down, and the procedure to reinstall it is exactly the same. It's just put it back in, put the cotter pin in it. It's great. So replace the gascolator, and also fabricated a new I made a new fuel line to go, did a test on the ELT, and actually having to send the remote panel back to the manufacturer because it's not testing now. There were several oil leaks that seemed to show up magically once we got on the road. The biggest one was the front main seal was leaking and making a mess inside the cowling. It made it really difficult to try and find that one until it started showing up on the outside of the cowling. That's some interesting footage there. This was the culprit for my oil leak coming out of the cowling and getting a little on the windshield. The old style of these actually had a split in it to get it installed. You can call Susan at Franklin Engine and get the Lycoming style, which is a solid piece, and in order to install it, that seal has to basically expand twice its diameter, and it's pretty hairy trying to put it on, but once you slip it on and it goes back into place, it forms back into shape. One of the more important things to do is you need to be able to heat it up, and the best way to do that is in hot water. So what you want to do is take the little spring out of the inside of the seal, and that seal and that spring has a kind of tapered end on it, and so it'll screw itself into the inside of the end. What you're going to need is just a couple of tools and some way to heat up some hot water, either a hot plate or I have an electric kettle. You want to heat up this rubber so it makes it a lot more pliable, because it's going to have to stretch quite a ways to get it over the top of the flange. I apologize, I wish I had filmed this or had somebody filming me while I was doing this, because I was just in mechanic mode and just wanted to get it done. But what you're going to need is like a brass punch or the Lycoming tool that you can buy through most either Spruce or Aviation Tool Supply, and a really thin screwdriver, and this is going to go through the flange of the crank and it's going to hold the seal in place. I like to use this one because this will actually go into through the prop flange, hold the seal, and will also keep the crank from turning, because this will sit on one of the lands of the case of the engine, and then you use the punch to draw it over the top of the flange. And I'm going to try and sort of demonstrate this with an extension cord, because it's high vis. So make sure that when you orientate the seal on the flange, it's facing the correct way, which means the outside of the seal should be flat. You don't want to see the inside where you put the spring. That's got to face on the inside. So the open side is on the inside, the flat side is on the outside. All right? So this is what it looks like. So what I've done is I've actually clocked the flange so I can go right through this hole to get that nut or that bolt and that one out, and that will let you take the retaining clips that are on one on the top and one on the bottom, take those off. And you're going to carefully extract your old seal without scratching and dicking something up. So but that's why mine came out in kind of tattered pieces, because I was more interested in getting it out than trying to save it. Once you have that out, you want to make sure you clean the area really well. MEK works really good to clean up that old sealant. A really good installation sealant is this Pliobond 25. It's kind of a rubber cement, but it works really, really well. So I arrived at the hangar dark early on a Saturday morning, my day off, to replace one of these. This is a spark plug helicoil, and this thing is no joke. I've been a mechanic for 3 decades, and I'm finding this rather challenging, because you need the proper tools in order to install this, because this little bugger is bigger than the actual spark plug hole, and you need special tooling in order to install this. So I have found on the intraweb a tool, part number 4973-14. This is what you would normally get in a helicoil installation tool, but what makes this one different is this body, and it's threaded on the end here. So how this deal works is you take your helicoil, drop it into the end of, you can see it right here. You drop that helicoil in there, and then take your installation tool, and it's going to grab the end of the helicoil, and with those threads on the inside, it's going to compress the helicoil. Now, the one problem I'm having with the Franklin is that the nose of this tool is larger than the fin area, and you need to be able to get this flush against the surface, otherwise the helicoil is not going to stay compressed, and when you try and put it in there, there's not enough room, and by the time you've wound it through this tool deep enough, you will have threaded all the helicoil all the way through, and it's just going to pop out the other end. So I'm going to have to slightly modify this end here in order to fit down in the hole around the fins, so it'll sit flush against the actual spark plug hole. Dang, I'm out of coffee. Just going to have to persevere. So I was able to refine this tool. I only needed a depth of about a half an inch, 450 thousandths, but that's neither here nor there. And so I started with just taking the flats off of the outside of the tool, and that just about did it. So this now fits nice and snugly. I said snugly. We're going to do the installation, and hopefully this is going to go good. Go good. Let's go good. insert into the holder. Get this bad boy started. So we've got it started and just about ready to come out the end. You definitely want to make sure that you got a good hold of it. So I was rather fortunate that the threads in the head were still in good shape, and that all I really needed to do was just replace the helicoil. Now, if you're going from a basically original hole and your threads get messed up, you will need to have that hole chased with a tap, and there's an entire kit that goes from an original hole all the way up to what we've just done with the helicoil. And that kit is not cheap. If you're interested, you can look it up at Aircraft Tool Supply and look for the helicoil installation kit. It's pricey for the 14mm, and the 18mm for the other Lycoming and Continentals is even more expensive. So we are going to put our spark plug back in and see if we can't get this thing flying by the end of the day. So I know it's kind of a stretch with the cowling off and everything, but I have faith. I do have faith. So till next time. This is where the filming ends. Oh, Gracie.